Hello, this is Roman Gabriel, and you are listening to The Grueling Truth.
Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of The Grueling Truth. Today, we are going to talk about the PEMF machine, which I believe is the future of sports medicine. And to discuss this with us, I want to welcome in the founder of Replenishing Care, James G. Comerford. How you doing, James?
I'm doing real well, Mike. It's great to be here.
All right, so when we look at PEMF machine, you want to go through and tell us what pulsed electromagnetic field therapy is?
Yeah, well, thank you. The lead-in to talking about PEMF is it's a fitness, wellness, and general health technology that helps cells perform and repair. And the simplest description I often use is that PEMF helps cells help themselves. And what's great about helping cells help themselves is that when you do, you tap into and enhance the body's own ability to heal and repair. So the great thing about doing that is that PEMF will actually adapt to the needs and circumstance of the individual using it. So I know there's a lot of athletes and people involved in sports in the audience. So if you think about an athlete as being fit and well and able to compete, PEMF will tend to make somebody in that situation more fit, more well, more able to compete. If you got somebody who's dealing with some kind of a condition, what PEMF will cause for those people and for everyone is systemic improvement. So often you'll see symptomatic relief in concert with that. An injured person generally recovers quickly, and it also speeds up surgical recovery. Basically, everybody will become more resistant to illness and injury. So essentially, PEMF is something that as a foundation for overall fitness, wellness, and health is hard to match, quite frankly.
Now, when I try to explain to people what a PEMF machine is, the first thing they always think of is a TENS unit. Do you want to explain to everybody how the PEMF machine works?
Yeah, the simplest, and I get that a lot as well. And, there's major differences in those two devices. But for anybody who's familiar with TEMS, think of it as being remotely in the same theater, but in a different pew, so to speak. Basically, I use the analogy of PEMF as a battery charger for cells. Some people are aware of it, some people aren't, that cells actually are electrical and require a certain electrical charge to perform the functions we need them to perform at the level we need them to perform them at. And then over time, athletic training, stress, toxins, aging, wear and tear start to diminish a cell's natural charge. And when this happens, we get tired, we don't perform as well, we even get sick and injured. What PEMF does is it gives the cell back the charge they need to perform at their best, as well as heal and repair. And what's really cool about PEMF is it's actually drawn to the cells that need it. And if you've ever had a PEMF experience, and I know you have, Mike, but perhaps some of the people listening have as well, when you use PEMF, you put basically a coil on your body that delivers an energy that's going to be set at whatever is comfortable for the individual. And when the energy interacts with cells in the body, any cell that's undercharged electrically will start to constrict, force toxins out, and draw the energy in. And any cell that's fully charged simply lets the energy go by. So the common response or things that you look for when you see PEMF or will experience is muscle twitching and other types of response like that that will indicate where the energy is going. And that often gets back to the TEMS comparison, because I think with TEMS people feel a certain amount of twitching as well. But it's, again, with PEMF, the intensity and the function is very different.
Yeah. Now, what should an athlete, athletic trainer, or coach expect from using the PEMF personally or with members of his team?
Well, basically what's going to happen is an athlete using this will tend to feel relaxed, energized, and renewed is the way I describe it. 95% of athletes using this will report less pain, better range of motion, more energy, and a greater sense of well-being. And I should add to that, those types of benefits last for 4 hours to 4 days. as the healing process begins, but with repeat use, they'll hold that period of benefit longer. So, if an athlete happens to be injured, PEMF will promote healing and a return to higher activity levels, and, functions that have been lost begin to recover. And essentially what it does is it helps the body's own natural healing processes as it works.
All right.
So,
go ahead. Sorry
yeah.
about that, James.
No, you go ahead. Actually, I'll let you jump back in here.
All right. Can you give us some examples of results you've seen with athletes? When you get done, I know I can give some personally, but go ahead.
Well, I'm privileged to work with a whole lot of practitioners who work directly with athletes in addition to working with them myself. So we have a doctor we work with in Los Angeles who's the corner person for some of the top UFC fighters. So some of the things that he works on is getting athletes ready to go into, the cage and taking care of them in terms of the healing on the way out. We've worked with some NFL players. One example that comes to mind is a chap who had a serious knee injury that they thought was going to end the season for him. He actually got back playing weeks earlier, and one of the great things is he could actually lift more on the knee after the injury than before. It's another example of an NFL player with a high ankle sprain who went from injured reserve to active roster after a couple of treatments using a specialized procedure or technique that we use. I can go on, but the last one I'll share out of my list, if you will, before I let you talk about your sons, is an 18-year-old top-race hockey goalie who's dealing with a serious inflammation condition. And I started working with him earlier this year in his recovery. And I'll add to it, he has a world-class team working with him in addition to using PEMF. But PEMF being added into the mix of the world-class care he's getting took everything up a notch. And again, it's another advantage of PEMF is it brings out and amplifies the best in other methods. And right. I'll let you talk about your sons now, because that's a great story. I love it.
We had my oldest son who had torn the ligaments in his wrist, his throwing arm. He's a quarterback. He's a baseball pitcher. Happened during baseball season last year in about June, and they told him that if he had surgery, or he would have to have surgery, because there's no way he could make it through the season with torn ligaments in his throwing wrist. And they told him he would be out 5 to 6 months. That would kill the entire season for him. And we got with you, and we got with Dr. Fick up in Cincinnati, and he started going to see Dr. Fick every day before practice. And to make a long story short, at the start of the season, the perfect example is this. Before he started using it, we started using Dr. Fick after the first game of the season. The first game of the season, he came out. We played a team in Dayton. We won the game. He played great in the first half, but in the second half, he couldn't even grip the football. And we almost lost the game because of the other team came back because we couldn't throw the ball. We went and saw Dr. Fick on that Monday, saw him on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, played on Saturday. My son throws a couple touchdown passes. We win the game, no problems. The thing gets hairy because we win like 3 games in a row to start the season. And my son's feeling so good. Before game 4, that Friday, or that Thursday and Friday, he decided that he didn't need the therapy, that he was fine now. And because, he's like 16, 17 years old. He's hard-headed, thinks he knows everything, but knows nothing. And he misses those 2. And on a Saturday, we play Middletown Christian. And we're in the middle of the first quarter, and he takes a hit. And he can't feel his hand. We actually had to take him out of the game. We ended up losing the game. So to make a long story short, once again, which I know I haven't done, is that he starts doing the treatment 4 to 5 days a week, makes it through the entire season. The last 4 or 5 games of the season, I don't think he had any pain. And this was on a ligament that we were told from the MRI was 97% separated. There was only 3% attached. By the time we get to the end of the season, you figure 8 to 10 weeks, 8 weeks of using this, he went from 3% connected to when it was checked again to 33% connected and he made it through the season. So I think right there, that tells you all you need to know about PEMF, because this is a kid that without the PEMF never would have made it through half of the season, much less a full season.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you've shared that story. And I mean, you know, we talk about the simple analogy of this as a battery charger for cells. But I mean, what that actually translates to, you know, the technology stimulates cellular metabolism. It causes blood and fluids to circulate better, tissue regeneration, immune system response. You know, it stimulates muscles, connective tissues, intestines, tendons, the cartilage, the brain, peripheral nerve sites, and so on. So you see improvement in function, and you see systemic improvement, and organs start working better. So, you know, I mean, you're singing to the choir when you tell me those stories, because, you know, I think, as you know, in my own experience, you know, I had Guillain-Barré when I was 40, was in a wheelchair briefly. I'm now 62. I work out every day. I'm getting literally fitter and stronger as I go into my 60s as a result of having access to this. And I mean, I've got some other things with it as well. But the bottom line is the foundation for, you know, getting people over things and able to continue doing things is PEMF, in the experience that I've had both with athletes and with folks who would describe themselves as weekend warriors or non-athletes even.
Yeah, I can give you one from that, too. My wife, who's on her feet all the time, has problems with her knee. And it got to the point where she could barely walk. We went up, we did the therapy like back-to-back days, no problems. If she doesn't do the therapy, she has problems again. So, I mean, this is something, whether you're a weekend warrior, whether you just a normal person out there working a job. We all know when you get past the age of 40, things crack, snap, pop, and you have problems. And this machine, I cannot stress enough the amazing things it can do. And I mean, when I look at this, I think, how long has this been around, and why didn't I know about it?
Well, you know, that's an interesting question. The original technology behind PEMF dates all the way back to Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
And back in about the 1940s or so, predecessor versions of PEMF were fairly commonplace. And then I won't comment on what happened one way or the other. I wasn't alive then, but suffice it to say, PEMF type technology pretty much disappeared in this part of the world, was very active in places like Europe on a continuing basis, and then kind of came back into North America around 2000. Word has been growing. The internet's been great for spreading the word and letting people, know about us. And hopefully, as time moves forward, PEMF will take its, in what I consider to be its rightful place as part of, the ongoing care regimen for everybody, because quite honestly, it makes every part of the body better, and it causes no harm. And I should add, there's a couple of contraindications: pregnancy and pacemaker, and we're careful around epilepsy, steel plates in a person, and blood thinners. And again, we're cautious. It's not a contraindication around those. But other than, pregnancy and pacemaker, it's safe for everyone to use, and it adds great value to overall, whether you're looking for fitness, wellness, general health. It's going to help you move towards your goals in any of those directions.
All right. So how does someone get a PEMF machine?
Well, most people who get involved with PEMF, will have an issue in the beginning, and they'll find a practitioner near them that can do treatments. So that's one way that people go about it. But what's becoming increasingly more popular is for people to actually buy them for home use. And we're, proud to be a distributor of we call it the RC Max PEMF 120, which is the world's most prevalent PEMF device made by a manufacturer in California, basically the world leader in the technology, 15 years, great experience, and those kind of things. So the way that somebody can get one is to reach out to us. You can either call us or go on the website, which is www.replenishingtechnologies.com.
All right. You also can go to thegruelingtruth.net, click our banner at the top of the page for Replenishing Care, and that will take you right there also. Now, the big question with everybody is always the end game, which is how much does this cost?
It's an investment. RC Max PEMF 120, equipped with what we call a sports medicine package, comes in at $21,500. So it's about the same as a vehicle. For anybody looking at that who says, well, that's a lot of money, I agree with them, it is. But the value that is provided in that investment is really hard to put a number on. It's like the ad, it's sort of priceless in terms of what it does. And, certainly for any athlete who's looking to, extend a career, enjoy the game again if they're at a point where there's starting to be wear and tear and ongoing injury, or as I always like to say, write themselves further into history in the record books, PEMF is a really good resource for them to add into the mix of the things they're doing to keep themselves at their best.
Now, I know what normal people out there are thinking. They're thinking that this is a medical machine. Is it easy to use? Can anybody use it?
It is amazingly easy, and I'm glad you asked the question. I can literally have somebody functional on this, and by functional I mean able to use it to getting results and complete safety within about a 15 to 20 minute conversation. So the answer is yes, it's very easy. And what happens in a lot of cases with people I work with when they come to us for sessions is they become self-administered with it after a period of, using it a few times and us kind of showing them the ropes. Now I'm going to put on a different hat and say, like anything, this is a very, very powerful and technology with tremendous upside. So there's a difference between what I call being able to operate it and able to get the best results from it. And one of the things we're really proud of is the fact that we've developed a 6-module training program that we provide for free to the people who work with us. And it literally takes them from getting started to being what I call a master. And involved in that is a personal proficiency, a professional proficiency. So that would mean somebody who's a practitioner. Then we have an athletic training proficiency, a sports medicine proficiency, a team proficiency, ultimately all the way up to something I call replenishing care, which integrates PEMF with about 10 other cellular health technologies. So you bring the best of a whole lot of things together all at once. So long-winded answer to the fact that you can have somebody operational and comfortable in this very quickly, which we do, but we take great pride in teaching people to get the very best results out of this. And again, that's offered as part of the package we sell to those who choose to work with us.
All right. One more time, James, you want to give everybody the website?
Absolutely. It is www.replenishingtechnologies.com. And I'm going to use your tag word, the future of sports medicine. I appreciate you saying that, actually.
Well, I've already trademarked it. You now owe me $27,000. Just send me a machine.
The machine's on its way to you.
All right, James. It was great to have you on the show. We will probably have you back in the future also. Always great to have James on with us at The Grueling Truth. And remember, you can go to thegruelingtruth.net and click on the Replenishing Care banner. You can hear this show on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Get the word out. I mean, if you know somebody that has somebody that's injured, any kind of injury, it doesn't just have to be a sports injury, as James said. Make sure you have them listen to this show, and this definitely helps. And I wouldn't be on here saying it if it wasn't. It's helped my whole family. It's helped both my sons. It's helped my wife. I used it on my knee the last time I went to Dr. Fick's office, and it was actually the first time I'd used it, James. and it's well beyond any tension machine you'll ever use. I mean, the tension machine sits like in the back of the church. This sits in the front of the church, James.
Well, I'll comment on that. Like, we don't knock anything, and believe me, every technology that's out there is, been developed by somebody who's well-meaning and wants to help people. Some are just more effective than others, and what we've done is tried to put together the best of the best. And I'll conclude, if I may, on a personal experience. As they say, I'm in my 60s. I turned 62 about a couple of weeks ago. When I was 60 in 2016, I went for hernia surgery. And 9 days later, I was back full workout because of PEMF, even doing oblique sit-ups and things like that. And that's what PEMF can do for a weekend warrior, and I love that term as describing myself. I'm a weekend warrior who was able to use PEMF for those kind of results. Didn't take any meds, any of those kind of things. Recovered very quickly and fully. And if that'll do that for a 60-year-old guy with average DNA, if you're an athlete who's world-class and all those kind of things, imagine what it'll do for you.
All right, guys, I want to remind everybody later today at 2:30 Eastern Time, live, we'll have former Alabama offensive lineman Bill Searcy, won a couple national championships with Bear Bryant. He'll be in to talk about his book, High Tide, about his life. And then Monday, we got somebody played at Auburn. We got former Buffalo Bill running back Joe Cribbs will be on our Legend Show at noon Eastern.
Oh, wow.
So make sure you check that out. So we're going to wrap this up. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Grueling Truth. James will have a Twitter soon, right, James?
Yes, I am. You're going to help me with that. Remember, I am 60 and I need help at such things.
I'm
at least
49 and I needed it. I don't know what I'm doing, but I've done it for long enough that I figured it out. So I will definitely help you. So make sure you check us out at thegruelingtruth.net. So for James G. Comerford, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.